Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to quickly call this meeting into session. And Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome to the first meeting of Scarborough Community Council for this new year of 2017. And also I'd like to say that we have a new administrator here. It's Terry Wertepny. Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us and being part of the team. He's acting committee administrator as Yvonne has left us and is now retired, and I hope she's enjoying herself. So we're going to run through the agenda. And the first thing is just to, we have to do an introduction, I believe, first. Yeah. So, perfect. So the first thing is we'll do declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. And seeing none, we'll do the confirmation of minutes from November 15th, 2016. That's moved by Councillor DeBaremaker. And all those in favor, approved, and that carries. And the introduction. Right on to item 1. Great. Okay, so we'll go through the agenda. Just to let everybody know, we have bare quorum today. As we have Councillor Moser, as you know, he has ongoing health issues and will not be here today. And Councillor Thompson is away on city business and will not be here today. And Councillor Crawford is with the mayor and will just be a few minutes late. And so we're going to hold a few of his items today. And Councillor Lee will also be moving motions on behalf of Councillor Thompson. So also I just wanted to also mention thanks to Councillor Lee as he finished his 2 years serving as chair of Scarborough Community Council. And again, thank you. Yes. It was great job, and I hope to continue that work and work together with Councillor Lee on a number of issues that are facing Scarborough Community Council. So going through the agenda, so the first item is, again, it's under Councillor Crawford, and it's request for fence exemption rear yard 98 Blantyre. So that one will be held. And the second one is actually going to be withdrawn. So we'd have a motion to withdraw. The applicant is withdrawing his application, and that's SC 19.2. And that's a request for fence exemption rear yard for 100 Blantyre Avenue. So that neighbor is just withdrawing his application. And do we need a motion? So we'll need a motion to withdraw. And Councillor Ainsley is moving that motion to withdraw. All those in favor? Approved, and that carries. And again, adjoining to that, sort of if you've seen the picture, it's neighbors all working together on this one. And so it's SC 19.3, and that's in Councillor Crawford's ward, and that'll be held as well. Sorry. And so for SC 19.4, it's in Councillor DeBaremaker's ward. And this one is Councillor DeBaremaker. Yeah, okay, so that's moved by Councillor DeBaremaker. All those in favor? Sure. Yes. Yes.
This is a request for a liquor license, is that correct?
Oh, yes. Sorry, yes. It's an endorsement of an event for liquor licensing purposes, and it's in Councillor DeBaremaker's ward. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 19.5, application to remove a private tree at 62 Annandale Road, and that one we're going to hold for Councillor Crawford. And SC 19.6, application to remove a private tree, 1 Baybrook Crescent, Councillor DeBaremaker, and that one is a deputant on that one. That's right. And SC 19.7, application to remove two private trees, 18 Longhouse Place. And that's Councillor DeBaremaker.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Okay, and that's moving staff recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 19.8, application to remove a private tree, 29 Commons Drive, and we have a deputation on that. And application to remove a private tree, 22 Fareham Crescent, in Councillor Ainsley's ward, and that one we have a deputation as well. SC 19.10, request to demolish the residential building at 3008 Kennedy Road. Councillor Karygiannis.
Move staff recommendations.
Thank you. And moving staff recommendations, all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. SC 19.11, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880, fire routes 3015 to 3017 Queen Street East, 255 and 275 Green Village Square, 5310, 5318, and 5320 Finch Avenue East. And it's Councillor Crawford, Kelly, and Lee. And I believe this one we're holding until Councillor Crawford arrives.
Yes, I move staff recommendation.
Okay, so we're going to be moving staff recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 19.12, again, this is in Councillor Crawford's ward, so we're going to hold this item. It is an engraved bench donation for McCowan District Park. And SC 19.13, school bus loading zone, Highbrook Drive, Councillor Thompson's ward. So Councillor Lee.
And I'm, on behalf of Councillor Thompson, I'm moving staff recommendation.
Okay, so moving staff recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 19.14, no stopping and no standing zones, Wexford Boulevard. This is also in Councillor Thompson's ward. Councillor Lee.
Councillor Thompson would like to thank staff for this and move staff recommendation.
Great. Moving staff recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 19.15, compulsory stop controls, Sandcrest Drive area. Councillor DeBaremaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move the staff recommendations.
So moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. SC 19.16, speed limits, Weatherby Drive and Shaddock Crescent. Councillor DeBaremaker's ward.
Yeah, I'll move the staff recommendations as well.
And moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 19.17, compulsory stop controls, Nealon's Crescent, and Councillor Ainsley's.
Moving staff recommendations.
Okay, great. And moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And this one also is in Councillor Ainsley's ward, SC 19.18, speed limit review, Warrensworth Street, and this is being held for one deputation.
I have a motion to move on this.
Okay. I think it's held for.
It's held for deputy.
Deputy singular.
He doesn't live anywhere near this street.
I know. Thank you. And SC 19.19, 170 Eglinton Square, 1431 and 1437 Victoria Park Ave, 14, 18, 19 to 23, and 26 Englehart Crescent, and 64 and 68 Harris Park Drive. Official plan amendment and rental housing demolition control applications, preliminary report, and I'll be moving staff recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And then it comes to our timed items, which we only have two today, which is SC 19.20, 3201 to 3227 Eglinton Avenue East, zoning amendment application, final report in Councillor Crawford's ward, and this will be held. And SC 19.21, 2100 to 2122 Bridletown Circle, zoning amendment application, final report, and this one will be held for a timed item as well. And just a reminder that it's really tight on quorum today, so I'm hoping that you'll all be here at 1:30 today. So I believe that we're waiting on Councillor Crawford. And
Before we move to the agenda, whether you might ask if there's anyone else who wishes to speak on an item that hasn't signed up with the clerks, just ask them to
Yep, and just a reminder from the clerks, if there's anybody here that wants to speak on an item but has not registered, just to come down and speak to the clerks and add your name to the agenda. Thank you. What will happen now is that SC 19.1 and SC 19.3 are actually joint properties, like they're right beside each other if you saw the pictures, and those will be held until Councillor Crawford arrives, which will be quite imminent. And again, 19.2 was withdrawn, and so we'll move over to SC 19.6, which is the application to remove a private tree. Sorry, 19.6. And so that's application to remove a private tree, which is 1 Baybrook Crescent. And we have a deputant there. So Anaya Wrestlingham. Sorry, I'm going to get that right. And who's the owner. And I'm hoping that they're... So it's Anaya? Yes. Hi, how are you? Good. Yep. So you'll be the first one up. And so you're the only speaker today. And this is on the application to remove a private tree. And you have 5 minutes to speak. And then counselors here may ask you some questions. Okay. And so if you look at the clock there, you'll just know your time. Okay. And I'll start your time.
All right.
Okay? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Apanea Wrestlingham, and I'll be speaking on behalf of my parents today. I want to start by saying that I respect the citywide private tree bylaw. It's necessary to protect the trees in our city because they have many social, economic, environmental benefits associated with trees. However, I hope you understand why we're requesting to have the Norway maple on our front lawn removed. We bought the house located at 1 Baybrook Crescent in May 2013. Shortly after, we noticed that the certain portion at the south side of the house had mold-like substance growing on it. After talking to some of our family members, they recommended to wet-proof the basement, and that's exactly what we did. During the process of digging out the soil near the foundation of the house, we found the roots of the tree of interest right now lodged within the cracks of the foundation. In the report issued to us, it is stated that the tree's roots are not physically capable of exerting physical force required to crack the concrete. However, it does go on to say that the roots can grow into the spaces of the existing cracks. So when simple logic is applied, one can conclude that the roots can make a simple crack in the foundation a bigger problem. From the primary research conducted online, we have reason to believe the tree should have been planted further from the house. There are many sources online. From many sources online, we learned that the tree should have been planted at least 3 meters from the foundation of the house. This is also stated by Hydro Ottawa. However, this tree of interest is actually planted 2.4 meters from the foundation of our house, and for those of you who are bad at math, that is 0.6 meters short of the recommended measure. And also, I would like to note that in the report, it stated that the Norway maple tree is stated as a valuable part of our urban forest. From doing a simple search online, I found something very interesting. The Norway maple is recognized as an occasional invasive exotic species in various parts of North America. Toronto is one area where this concern is expressed, and this is actually written by John Ambrose for the Toronto Zoo. There are also many other articles that echo the thought that I just read. I just hope you understand our concern and the reason behind appealing your decision. We are simply trying to avoid a similar problem from arising in the future. We understand that our request was denied by the Department of Urban Forestry because the tree is healthy and maintainable. However, I believe they failed to look at the issue from the viewpoint of the homeowners. That is why we're here today. I hope the council will approve the request to remove the tree so that the foundation of the house will not be compromised again in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pictures.
Oh, yes, do you have pictures?
I have a picture of one of the roots that were lodged into the crack.
So Naya, we could, Am I pronouncing your name right?
Completely wrong.
Okay, tell me.
Apnea,
Apanea?
yes.
Okay, thank you. And
And here's just pictures from wet-proofing the basement of the house.
okay, and if you again give that to the gentleman, then we can put those pictures up. Okay, and we'll go to questions of the deputant. No? Okay. Great, thank you so much. So there's no oh, you have questions? Sorry. Councillor Karygiannis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the deputant, can you describe for us what happened? You had to fix, I believe, the foundation of the home?
Yes, so the south side of our house had like mold, like substance growing on it, and then from getting people to come in, they dug that part of the house and saw there were cracks, and in those cracks there were roots lodged in. So because the roots were lodged in, the problem was being made even worse.
Roots were lodged into the concrete or the foundation of the home?
The concrete, so that's like aligning the foundation of the home.
And you sort of had to dig in order to fix this up?
Yeah, so we had to like clear the path, because we needed to wet-proof that part that we just showed, so we need to clear the path.
What was the cost of that for your family?
About 10,000.
So you had to dig down how far?
About a person's height, so about 5 feet down.
5 feet down?
Yes.
And you found that roots were cracking into the foundation of your home?
Yes.
And did the people that did this foundation repair, did they say that this was going to be dangerous to your home? That foundations could have been cracked, could have done any damage to the home? Or it was just a couple of roots that were actually into the concrete and that's what you had to repair and that will take care of the problem?
They said that there's possibility for in the future for the same problem to occur if the roots were to expand again. So I'm just saying if there were future cracks, then it's possible for roots to get lodged in again and then we would repeat the process again. I'm just saying that in my understanding, if the cracks are there, it's still a problem, but then if the roots are there, it's just going to make the problem even worse.
When did you say you bought your home through the chair?
Pardon?
When did you move into the house?
May 2013.
So that was after or before the the ice storm?
Before.
Before. How did that tree behave through the chair? How did the tree behave during the ice storm? Did it break?
It was actually coming down pretty close to the house. Like the branches were touching the roof of the house.
Was there anything that was broken? Any branches
Yes.
broken?
I believe the city took care of it. I'm not sure of the actual details.
Is this on city property or your own
Private property.
private property? Have you, I mean, I was noticing at the pictures, the tree is pretty enormous. Have you trimmed it back at all over the years that you've been there?
I believe the people before us trimmed the part of it, so I'm not sure. It does look like part of it was trimmed by people before us. So as you can see, the part that's above the roof seemed like it was been trimmed.
How old is the house?
I would say 50, but not exactly sure.
Was it built in the 60s or the late 50s?
I have no idea.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the deputant? No, I just have a couple quick questions. So it's a big issue that we tend to deal with. And so did anybody recommend anything for the cracks around the foundation, such as parging?
That's why they recommended us to wet-proof the house, which is what we got done.
Oh, you did do it?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you did that, then are you worried that more cracks will form? Is that the concern?
We plan to live in this house for a really long time, so we're just trying to cover all the dots and make sure it doesn't happen again, because this happened and it was a costly experience. We also had to pay $100 to submit this report, so it's just all the costs. We just want to wrap it up and move on. So we're just trying to avoid it from happening again in the future.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And, okay, thanks so much.
All right.
So we'll move on to staff. Staff can present. Is there any questions of staff? Yeah, Councillor Karygiannis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to staff, on the report says tree roots are not physically capable of exerting the physical force required to crack concrete or asphalt, and therefore cannot damage the properly constructed foundation wall. Is this something that is throughout the industry, or is this something that we only use, say, this in the city of Toronto?
It's throughout the industry, Councillor. Through you, Madam Chair. There's certainly obviously dissenting voices in the industry. The industry is not a uniform group by any stretch, much like any group is not uniform. So there's dissenting opinions. However, the general consensus is the routes, by those who research the routes, are not capable. Those who don't research the routes tend to believe the mythology around it.
So what is the possibility that these roots can actually grow back in the house and have some damage done on the house?
The house has been waterproof, so now the chance is 0.
Are you willing to sign off on that it's 0?
I can sign off on 0, as you can see by the waterproofing plastic here, and the tree roots cannot penetrate the plastic, and the plastic theoretically cannot crack because it's underground.
Okay, thank you.
So as long as the plastic is intact, there won't be any issues.
Great. Thank you. Any other further questions? No. Okay, seeing none. And then to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to move this be deferred for a month. I didn't have an opportunity to talk to the family. I actually don't think this is going to be approved, certainly by us, but certainly not in downtown. But I would like the opportunity to go out to the site, visit with the family and our forestry staff. I'm very glad to hear they went on the internet to do some research. And I think if we show them the actual research that says that those tree roots cannot harm their house, like our professional arborist just said, the chances of an invasion of the tree roots into their basement are 0, that they'll have some peace of mind. So instead of making a decision today and just saying yes or no, I'd like the opportunity to be able to go out and visit the site with them and with staff. So I'll just move deferral to our next community council meeting.
Yeah. So questions of the mover, Councillor?
Thank you. Wouldn't it be more prudent to move it a little bit longer, because coming back in February, you will not have an opportunity to see with snow cover and all that stuff? Wouldn't it be maybe more prudent to move it to April, so you'll have an opportunity when the snow melts in order for you to see outside, just in case it's needed?
I think our next meeting might be in March.
I was thinking of moving it to April.
But April, I think I'm looking over at the family there. I think April, sure. April would be fine.
Yeah, just to give you an opportunity to.
Yep, April. I think April will be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a motion now to defer this item until the April Community Council. And so all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. Great, so it's deferred until April, which means that between that time, Councillor DeBaremaker will come out with forestry staff to visit your home. Okay? And not in this forum, unfortunately, but you can speak to Councillor DeBaremaker right now and ask him any questions. Great. Thanks so much. And so just moving back, Councillor Crawford was busy this morning with the mayor and has returned and joined us, thankfully.
I appreciate council's indulgence for my tardy lateness, but I was at an event with the mayor, so thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep. So what we'll do is we have SC 19.1, which is the request for fence exemption rear yard 98 Blantyre, and SC 19.3, which is request for fence exemption rear yard 95.5 Victoria Park Avenue, which are
Madam Chair,
separate.
I'm comfortable to put these together. They're pretty much the same area, so we can actually, when we're talking to them, I'll be speaking and ask some questions on both of them. So,
Okay,
in
great.
fact, the 19.2 that was removed
Yes.
is the same fence at 98, so it's they're just
Exactly.
neighbors.
Perfect. So the first speaker, and there's no speakers for 19.3, so it's just one speaker.
The owner of 98 will probably speak to 19.3 because it also backs onto her property. So they're all, these are all, you'll see when they're all connected.
Yes, exactly. And so for SC 19.1, we have one speaker, which is Ali Warren, who's the owner. Ali, you can come up. Ali, thanks so much for joining us today.
Good morning.
And so again, if you haven't been in this forum, you have 5 minutes to speak, and there's a clock right at the side, and then counselors may have the opportunity to ask you questions. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm here today to apply for an exemption to the fence bylaw for our property at 98 Blantyre Avenue. I would first like to acknowledge that the fence has been constructed, and I'm requesting the exemption after the fact. I apologize for our ignorance with respect to the bylaw, and do take responsibility for not requesting an exemption before constructing. So I'd like to acknowledge that right from the beginning. We do have actually quite a few images here, and I'd just like to walk you through the site plan to give you a little bit of context to really the neighborhood in this particular image, because we have a unique situation, I feel, with the Coach House, which is a small kind of landlocked property at 95.5 Victoria Park Ave, which is my immediate neighbor to the west. That's right. So they have an easement through, I think it's 97 there, Victoria Park. So their property is contained by fences on all sides. And then, as you can see, the other highlighted area is on the north fence line, sharing with my neighbor at 100 Blantyre. And just another little bit of history with the property, because I feel like context is quite important in our growing city. What you see now with the red pin is our property at 98. We did some construction there and actually lengthened the house. The original home was set much further to the east, so again, further from 95.5 Victoria Park, and it was a 1.5-story home at the time. We now have a 2-story home with a little more length, which is, again, closer to 95.5, which is, to my point, is a privacy issue. We feel that's our biggest motivator with the height fences here. And again, we did get support from all 3 of our neighbors that we do share a property line with, at 100 Blantyre, 96, and the 95.5 Victoria Park. And I do have those letters of support, if I believe you already have them, but I have more copies here. Again, just a couple of areas. If we could just flip to the next slide, please. This is showing the property from the back of our home, again, looking from a west perspective. And these are the 2 areas of concern here. The 2.5 meters is on the west, that you can see at the back there. And I think there was another slide that shows some dimensions with the width there. Yeah, so it's 6.71 meters wide. It's not a wide property, but that's the section that we are discussing. And you can see the roof line I'm trying to identify there with the yellow arrow. That is the Coach House at 95.5 Victoria Park. And you can just see our neighbor to the south, which would be on the left side here, their fence line. The property over to the south is actually higher than ours, so the grade change there has created a higher fence line for us on the south side. And we've tried to keep that back property fence line in line with these other fences in the surrounding neighbors. Again, it's quite a unique situation, I think, with this Coach House. And that privacy for Anne, who is my neighbor to the west, was a major concern when we first reached out to her about constructing the fence. And then maybe another slide there to show us a little bit more of a north perspective. This is my neighbor to the north at 100. The roof that you see there, just behind the text, is their their garage roof. They've got a shared laneway to the back, and there are 2 garages back there for my neighbors to the north. And this section of fence is 2.4 meters high, where we're requesting the exemption. And again, it's 8.84 meters wide, or in length. And this is a section that is right close to the back of our home, which is just out of the shot here to the right, but that is our deck that you can see our barbecue on, and you can imagine standing on that, our overlook to the north to our neighboring properties. It would have been quite severe, I think, for privacy reasons. That's why we extended. We did drop back down to 1.8 meters for the length of the property, continuing west there, where it's open in their backyard. So we've only raised it the extra 0.4 meters where it relates to the garage structure. And I do have another image to show an overhead of the surrounding neighbors. You can see at the back there's quite a few sheds that are much higher than our fence line. We kept our shed even below our fence line here, just to again, respect our neighbors and try to keep it very tidy and clean and unobstructive. It's the best we could. And I think there's one more image there showing to the north. Okay, this is the south, showing just the grade changes in the heights of fence that we have to the south here, which is a consideration, I think. And then there should be one more picture, or it might have made its way. No, actually, I think Councillor Holland might have had a copy of the picture. It's a different one here. Yeah, that just shows, for what it's worth, the neighbor to the north. What we are looking, what it would be shadowing essentially is a paved driveway and quite an old garage. So that's the section on the other side of the fence. This is from our second story. So again, various sheds in the property lines and the fences, we were really just trying to keep with the rest of the neighborhoods. I hope that council can see that our designs were with the best of intentions and with respect for our neighbors, and favor an application for our application. Thank you for your time.
Ali, thanks so much. And so are there questions of the deputant from Councillor Crawford?
Thank you, Ellie, for coming out. So when you had you went from a 1.5 story to a 2-story building. Of course, it's a larger house than what's traditionally been in the area. You followed all zoning. Did you go to Committee of Adjustment, get a little?
Yes, we
So
did.
you followed all the rules and everything. So
Yes, we
the house that you actually have is a legal house.
Absolutely.
Okay, good to know. So on your deck in the back, what's the square? How big is the deck? It looks like, well, I was out there. It's a fairly large deck.
It would be the width of the house, which is about 16 feet, and maybe 10 feet.
10 feet, and then how the deck looks to be about 2 feet, I'm assuming?
That's right.
2 feet, and that's
Yeah.
just coming right out of the back kitchen area onto
That's
the
right.
backyard.
Yes.
And primarily, you're looking at the exemption, because it's a privacy issue. If you're standing on your deck, you pretty much, if it was 6 foot, you'd be looking over into your backyard, your neighbor's backyard?
Into the neighboring backyards and their living spaces, yes.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And any other questions of the deputant? No, see none? Okay, thanks so much, Ellie. And we're just going to go to questions of staff. Councillor Crawford?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to ask staff, so on the deck, this house went through Committee of Adjustment. It was a 1.5 story before. Previously, the deck would have just been ground level. It is now 2 feet above. And hence the reason why they're looking for the exemption for privacy. Have there been exemptions? I don't know specifically in Scarborough, from my recollection, but across the city, with the new kind of builds that are taking place, from old original communities, again, with small bungalows, and where in fact houses are becoming a little bit bigger. Have there been exemptions similar to this, where the fence or the deck surface would be used for determining the 2 meters as opposed to the foot? Because right now you're determining ground level. So have there been exemptions previously? And I know in North York, I'm aware of a couple of, but have you seen, I wouldn't say a trend, but seeing more of these kind of exemptions coming because of where the deck may be in a new build?
Through you, Madam Chair, I can't think of any that have gone through Scarborough.
No, I'm thinking more, again, because this particular house is getting close into the city, old beaches area. I'm looking into more other areas of the city where this kind of construction is again, not all in Scarborough, but this is very unique to this particular area and a lot of other areas in Scarborough. Just, have we done those kind of exemptions in the past?
Not that I can recall, sorry, no.
No? Okay,
The
great.
bylaw does state, though, if you put a fence on a deck, that it can go 2 meters as long as it's in the rear yard,
But it'd be 2 meters from
on the deck,
so
from
two,
the deck
on the
surface.
deck, and then 2 meters from that?
That's correct.
So if this deck had gone right over to the property line,
As long as it meets the zoning requirements for the deck,
yeah.
you could build a fence on the deck as a screen, 2 meters high, as long as it's in the rear yard.
Oh, okay. So in fact, because this deck isn't all the way over to the fence, that's the reason, because you're actually using it from the ground. Oh, really? Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Okay, thank you.
Great. And, okay, great. Any other questions of staff? No, seeing none and to speak. Councillor Crawford? Sure.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Here's the house here. So the house is on the left. On the right is, or has been, your typical bungalow that has been on that street in the beach. Even on the house on the right-hand side is a newer build. So what is happening in this particular area of my ward and in the beaches is the houses are starting to grow. Whoops. Sorry about that. So they're starting to grow from the either 1.5 stories up to 2 stories. And in fact, what is happening, and you've probably seen that with the exemptions coming to Committee of Adjustment, the basements are actually starting to rise. I mean, where a basement previously would have been like a half basement, they're actually starting to come up. So you almost have 3 stories. I have a lot of them in my ward that are coming right now. There's an example of one of them. So really what you're starting to see is the communities, and you've seen it across the city, whether it's in Leaside, wherever, that these communities are changing, growing up, I guess. And what is happening is, again, with the new size of the houses, when you're looking at the back, and there's the yard there. She's already shown you the pictures. The decks, because previously would have been coming at ground level, are now about 2 feet up. And in fact, they are, and this is quite a large deck, you're starting to see the privacy aspect of being 2 feet up. And as staff have just pointed out, really, if you had followed the line, or the height of the deck, if this deck had gone all the way across, they would have been allowed to do the 2 meters. But because they didn't, and I believe there's access to that, they weren't allowed to do that. But we're going to start seeing more of this. And again, when I was doing a bit of my research, I've noticed it in North York and other parts of the city. Even though there's not a lot in Scarborough, a lot of these exemptions are now coming through. One of the things I think we may have to be looking at is changing the bylaws, which is a longer-term notion, to look at as we start expanding the city. We need to start addressing this particular issue because it is a real issue for the resident and for a lot of residents in my ward. So when you look at this, and what they've also done too, they've extended, I know there's a little section down here that they've extended. Reason being, because it's a little past the deck. This is primarily just for privacy. That's really all it is. I can't see, in the future that this is something that it makes sense to do. But so I'm looking at, there's 2 decisions that'll have to be made. One is the exemption on Blantyre, and which is that for me it makes sense, and staff have said if the deck had gone over and touched the property line, they could have built it anyway. They didn't do that, so it just makes sense to do that on that. On the other one, again, the owner said it's a weird kind of property behind her, which is a coach house, which is boxed in by 4 fences. There's a small little driveway, and it's a very unique situation. I think I've never seen it, but it exists, and that is primarily just for privacy reasons. And when you look at, if you notice too, what's interesting is you see this line going all the way down from her neighbor. It just pretty much follows the same visual line. So even though it is this fence is actually legal because the property is a little higher on the other side, and you notice with the trees there's a change in the ground, but it actually follows the fence line at the back here. So they're not making anything visually too obstructive in the community. So again, it's a little bit taller, yes, but it has more to do with that very unusual house that is in the back. The owner was correct. They built the fence initially, and that's why I decided in the last meeting to defer this for another month, because I wanted to go out and have a look at that. And after look at them and talking to the neighbors, all the neighbors are fine with this. I mean, and that's why, and they did apologize for not, coming to us first. But again, I think they overlooked that. So I'm hoping that council will support these, from my really common sense, privacy issues on the exemptions. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And Councillor DeBaremaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to support the motion that Councillor Crawford's putting forward and the applicant. Certainly when you look at the pictures and the context of it, what the homeowners have done is reasonable, it's thoughtful, it's attractive. I'm sure we wish that every homeowner in all of our wards kept their property as neat and tidy as this property and invested. I don't know how much money that fence cost, but I'm sure it wasn't cheap. But to invest in the property like that is very good. I was very actually glad when I saw the long line that Councillor Crawford showed. There's a tree right in sort of the middle, halfway down the yard that they've built the fence sort of into. And I think that's a credit to this applicant and their neighbors to say, you know what, we're going to build a fence. There's a tree that's sort of saddling the two properties, and we're just going to keep that beautiful tree up, and we're going to build our fence sort of around it and accommodate it. I think it's very reasonable. And this little pocket, because Scarborough's made of hundreds of different little pocket communities. This is a very special community, a very beautiful one, close to our Victoria Park border. And I've certainly, like all of us, I think, driven through that neighborhood and seen, again, the investments of hundreds of thousands of dollars. People are taking those little bungalows and turning them into 3,500 square foot homes up and down all of the streets. They are raising the basements. So I just think for privacy and for consideration of this family, this is a very reasonable request, so I'll certainly support it.
Great. Anybody else to speak? No, seeing none. Thank you so much. So, Councillor Crawford, you're moving the motion?
Yeah, I'll move the, this 98 Blantyre, and then one after that, we'll move them separately. So I'll move
Okay.
SC 19.1, oh, actually, I'm moving, not the staff recommendations, because the staff recommendations are tonight. So I'm
Right.
moving to,
Not.
the motion on the screen. Yeah, the motion on the screen, which is to allow the exemption. So this is the one just beside the deck. I believe that's
Yeah,
that
so
fence
this is the
section.
fence,
Two different
which
sections
is-
of the same fence.
That's right. So it's 19.1, which is the fence, request for fence exemption. This is rear yard 98 Blantyre, not the Victoria Park yet. Right. Okay, all those in favor? Do we need the motion up on the screen? This is to, oh, sorry, I was looking over there. I can't see anything. Nope, that's okay. I know, I can't see what I'm voting on. Oh, do you? Okay. That's okay. Great. Okay, so that is for that one, and everybody can read it. So all those in favor, opposed, and that carries. So that passes. Okay, thanks so much. And then over to the, that's right. And there's no deputations on that. And do you feel that it was sufficiently?
Yeah, I'll move the same motion as to allow the exemption. I guess the back of the yard now.
Right.
Sorry, that we just saw. So I'll be moving the exemption for that as well.
Yep, so this is request for fence exemption, rear yard 95 and a half Victoria Park Avenue. Great. Yep, so as read, and all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries as well. So thanks so much, Ellie, for coming today in your application. And so that brings us actually over to Councillor Crawford. We held item, which there's no deputations on this, but it's SC 19.5, which is the application to remove a private tree at 62 Andale Road. And the staff is requesting that we deny the application.
I'll be moving the staff recommendations.
Okay. So we're moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And then we come over to SC 19.8, and we have a deputant today. This is the application to remove a private tree at 29 Commons Drive. And it's in Councillor Kelly's ward. And we have Demetrios Grievous to speak. Yep, thanks so much. So, Mr. Grievous, if you haven't been here before, again, it's the same forum. You have 5 minutes to speak, and then councillors may ask you questions. And the clock is right at your side.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I would like to start off by thanking the committee for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. Just to give you a little bit of background, we purchased this home in 2014, and with the intention of living there with our two young kids and bringing in our in-laws to stay there. So there's several of us that live there right now. And when we moved in, we noticed the tree, obviously on the front yard. It's very, very, very large. And it was a little bit of a concern, just based on the size of it. And then we didn't really pay much attention to it until the year after, in 2015, we noticed that the tree had started to lean towards the house. And what we noticed is the roots started coming out of the ground more than what it was when we first purchased the house. So in 2015, we applied to the city to remove the tree under the dangerous tree exemption, and we were rejected. We then hired an arborist to put a report together to apply to cut down the tree and replace the tree with several other trees that would be maybe situated a little bit further from the house. And that application was also rejected, so that's why we're here today. We still believe the tree continues to be a hazard, and we don't feel safe in our home with this tree several feet from our house. The tree itself is a spruce tree. It's massive. It's about 60 feet high, and it really dwarfs the house. On occasion, on windy nights, you could stand outside it and you could see it swaying, and you could actually feel the earth. I stood underneath it. You could feel the earth shifting. So I'm not really concerned about the tree failing or cracking. My concern is for the entire tree to uproot and then come crashing through the house. So on those stormy nights, we don't occupy our bedrooms. On those windy nights, we sleep in other areas of the house. So it's really disruptive to our life. I brought some photos also to show some of this and to show the lean of the house. I don't know if the lean of the tree. I don't know if maybe you could post these photos.
Sorry.
Okay, so this first photo is just the application that the posting that we put on the front lawn. The next one, you can see just the size of the tree and the proximity to the house. And I don't know if you can tell from the picture, but there is a significant lean. And what we've noticed near the ground around it, the roots are starting to become exposed. And it looks like there's heaving of the earth around the bottom of the tree. So it's very discerning, or very, it's scary to actually be inside the house on a windy day. So we're afraid for our safety because of this tree. If you want to flip to the next one, you can see there, there's the tree is leaning towards the house there, right? If you could flip to the next one as well. I have some pictures of the base and pictures of the roots where they've become exposed. What also we noticed is the previous owners, maybe it was done about 10 years ago, they did some remedial work on the foundation. So they did chop some of the roots or cut some of the roots because they did some waterproofing in the past. But what we've been noticing actually this year for the first time is water actually starting to seep into our basement. And I have images of that further on where, okay, that one shows the roots coming out. This one as well shows I don't know if you can notice the ground, it's heaving near the tree, and those roots are sticking out. There's another picture here, not this one, but maybe the next one, where there was a buried cable wire, and it was very difficult to see in the picture. It must have been buried at one time, but now the root has actually lifted it out of the ground. So Bell wouldn't expose a root like that. They would expose a wire like that. They would put it underground, and then this root has lifted this wire up. If you want to flip to the next page, I have pictures. I know the pictures aren't that great, but I also have video of there's a bulge now in the corner of the house where the tree is located. There's a bulge, and the concrete looks like it's being pushed in. If you go to the next picture, right in there, right in that corner, and I have video of it on my phone.
So Mr. Grievous, sorry, it's after 5 minutes.
Okay.
If you just want to wrap up,
Yeah,
and then other councillors will ask you questions anyway.
Okay, so I would just like to request the council to possibly reconsider urban forestry's decision on this tree, because I believe it's a safety issue. The other thing is I've gotten signatures from 6 of my closest neighbors that are in support of removing this tree, and they also believe that it is a danger to the public and occupants of the house. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And questions of the deputant? Nope, see none. Okay, thank you so much for presenting. Yep, Councillor Karagianis.
Thank you for coming, sir, and I realize, are the bedrooms located in the front of the house?
Yeah, right in front of that tree, right behind that tree.
So you have
three
how many
bedrooms.
children?
2 children.
So your children actually sleep at the shadow of the tree?
Yes, and we do as well. Yeah, and
So if the tree was to be uprooted, the children could be in danger?
yes. Yeah, so this is why we don't sleep in the bed on windy nights. We don't sleep in those bedrooms.
Obviously, I think you bought the house after the snowstorm, right, of the ice storm of 2013?
Yes, yes.
So you don't have any history as to what happened?
No, I'm not
tree.
not sure.
Would you happen to know how old the tree is?
I believe it's between 40 and 50 years old.
Was it planted at the time the house was built or afterwards?
I believe it was planted after the house was built.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I don't know why it was planted so close. I mean, at one point it must have been a pretty tree, but now it's just this very, I believe, dangerous tree.
Okay, yep. And Councillor Kelly, thank you.
Well, you chose a terrific neighborhood in which to live.
Thank you.
The Wishing Well area is a very attractive neighborhood. It's a mature neighborhood. My apologies. It's a mature neighborhood with a lot of mature trees, and that's a very handsome tree. Before you purchased the property, did you have the house inspected?
No, we did not.
So when you were looking at the house, did you notice the state of the?
Initially, no. The tree initially looked okay to us. The roots were not as exposed as they are now. We've seen decline in the last 3 years since we purchased the place, in the 2.5 years since we purchased it.
And what were your thoughts about the basement? Because you showed us some photographs of the basement today.
Yeah, so the basement, it looked like, I don't know if you could see, I could show you the pictures. There was remedial work done in the basement, and it was all very neatly done and clean. And that area the basement was exposed. But now what we're noticing is the foundations being pushed in. And if you would like, I could show the video of it. I have video of it on my phone showing that there is water now coming in, and the corner where the tree is, now I don't know if it is a root or not. It wasn't there before, but now it looks like it's being compromised.
When we were looking at an earlier application this morning, I think staff indicated that the roots don't create the fissures in the foundation. They may exploit them, but they don't create them. Do you think that your basement situation may just simply be a function of the age of the house rather than the activity of the tree itself?
It could be, of course, because we haven't explored it to find out if there are actually roots behind the wall at that point. But remedial work was done, and it looks like it was maybe about 10 years ago. So waterproofing was done at that moment, or at that point. The inside was fixed, and now it's an issue again. So I don't know if it is.
But you understand the argument that it's not the roots of the tree that are creating the problem. They just take advantage of it.
Right, yeah. So maybe if the work wasn't done, or if there was maybe holes in the membrane that they put in, and then maybe the roots did find their way there again, yeah.
Have you given any thought at all to trimming the tree, pruning the tree?
I have, yeah, but I've been advised that if you prune the tree, it becomes more unstable, it becomes top-heavy, and then it would make the problem worse, where if it was top-heavy, it would.
Well, I noticed that the arborist that you hired to look at the tree indicated that it was a healthy tree.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
The tree itself is healthy. I agree to that, but what I don't believe is the root structure is stable. I'm not concerned about the tree itself, branches falling off of it, or the tree itself, but what I'm concerned about is the entire tree becoming uprooted. And if that happens, it would come, and the prevailing winds are from the west, so it would push the tree directly onto our house. And if I invite any of you to come and stand under that tree on a windy day, and then tell me if you feel comfortable, sleeping in those bedrooms on a windy night, and having your kids sleep there on a windy night.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And any other questions? No, seeing none. And questions of staff. Thank you so much, Mr. Rivas. Yeah, and so Councillor Dubar-Maker.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. You've heard the deputant today raise a number of concerns. Sorry, there. Okay. Do you still stand by the recommendation in your report?
The report was written and approved. Was written by my staff member. I approved it. I did not make it to the site to attend the site. I could certainly offer to do that, and review it if we wanted to defer things.
But in terms of your recommendation, the concerns about there's the tree is swaying, there are some exposed roots, the roots, are exposed. I'll call it perhaps at the soil. Does that concern you as an arborist?
Madam Chair, through you, I'm not concerned about the swaying. I like to see trees swaying. When trees stop swaying, that's when you really need to panic. That's a good sign that things are not good. Roots exposed happens. You typically get erosion, especially under trees like spruce, where you don't get any growth. You see the area is mostly dirt. Water running through will expose the roots, as well as the roots are growing in diameter, so they're growing, taking up more volume. The soil is washing away a bit. You can see the uplift, which is caused by root growth underneath as well. Usually you have a bulge around the base of a tree, caused by the roots directly underneath, directly around the base of the tree. So nothing there strikes me as peculiar. His comments that you can feel the area move concerns me a little, so that's what I would like to review if I was going to go back to the site.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And any further questions of staff? Councillor Karygiannis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to staff. So what I would be hearing is that you would like to go back on a windy day to see if the earth is sort of moving in order to evaluate your findings. Would that be correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, I could certainly review the findings on a windy day where the ground was not frozen.
Deferred. Say that again.
I could certainly review on site. I would need a windy day with the ground not frozen. With the ground frozen, everything should be locked in place, so it wouldn't be an appropriate review.
Madam Chair, continuing on those questions, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but what I am listening to is that you're concerned that if this tree in a windy day shifts, it might cause harm to the house, and certainly on the children's bedrooms, where they're living. So you'd like to be 100% sure and go back and make sure that the tree is not a problem before you actually tell us, no, this tree is fine. So you want to reconsider what's in the report for windy day issues.
Councillor, through yourself, or Madam Chair, my staff have reviewed it. I feel my staff can handle such inspections. However, for everyone's additional comfort, I could do a house inspection of the tree. We'd have to do it in the spring once we have free of the ice. With the ground semi-frozen, as it is back and forth, the tree roots certainly aren't going to release. I think the homeowner's only concern is complete failure of the root plate, which I'm not particularly concerned about, but I'd be happy to give him more comfort in that than he's received so far.
Yes. So I have to finish this, yeah. So Councillor.
Number one, I do want to apologize to my colleague. It is the wishing well. I thought it was Crocus versus Commons. It's been a long time since I represented that particular part of the world south of the 401. Through you, Madam Chair, to staff, has there been, in that particular neighborhood on Commons, is there any other trees or, in the immediate that are that high and we have had that kind of exposure, those kinds of concerns?
Madam Chair, the tree's not particularly large. It's about 60 feet or so is a good medium-sized tree. Blue spruce can get much larger. Certainly a lot of spruce can get larger. Norway spruce can get up to the 110-foot, 120-foot range, so twice as tall. Size is not something that worries me. The tree will grow to the size that it can hold up. Trees they have self-feedback in that you only grow to the height that you can maintain. Obviously, there's certain changes that happen. Total tree root plate failure in the city is exceedingly rare. I've seen about 2 or 3 in my 15 years at the city, so I mean they're not very common. In
Ward 40, which is Councillor Kelly's ward, have we had any difficulties of trees falling down, uprooted?
Not that I recall.
Would you like to reconsider that about 18 Altair? There's a street off Victoria Park, just south of Finch. There's a whole tree that was uprooted. Would you like to go back on your records?
I can go check that. I don't recall that.
I appreciate that. Put my time on hold, Chair.
I can review that. Total true failure is exceedingly rare. So even one instance would still be quite rare.
I've asked particular questions about 18 Altair. I'm not getting an answer. Hopefully you will review the books and either call me to let me know if that tree was falling down or not. Because I've been hearing that trees are healthy, trees don't fall down. But I'm coming along Altair just a couple of months ago and that tree just fell down. Thank God that it was a little farther back, or else I would have been a goner. And to...
So, sorry, Councillor Chikirja.
All right, Madam Chair, no, this was, I would speak to Mr. Van Kester offline. Okay. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. And Councillor Kelly.
If you go back later, during a windstorm, and I don't know how windy it has to be to qualify for that condition, you're going to be looking at the root structure. Is that basically going to be the focal point?
Correct. The focal point would be to feel if there's any movement in the soils.
And what would you be looking for? Like, what would be the physical evidence of an unsteady or an unhealthy or a unsafe root structure?
It would typically be you would see opening and closing cracks in the soil. You would feel movement with your feet or with your hands. You'd be looking for the tree to stop swaying, as I said, because once a tree gets into a failure mode, it tends to stop swaying. It tends to get into a more rigid component. So the top wouldn't be moving so much as the whole tree would move at once, as opposed to swaying and bending, which is what a tree typically does in the wind. In order to offload the energy of the wind, a tree will bend and release the wind. Once it gets rigid, that's when things start to happen.
What would be, in your, how long a time period would you need in order to facilitate this analysis?
On a reasonably, not necessarily a storm, but just on a day with some windy gusts, it probably should be 5 or 10 minutes on site would be all I would need.
I should have brought my ear trumpet with me.
Sorry, I'm trying to speak into the mic. Is that better? There we go. Sorry, I didn't want to get too close to it.
So how long would you need?
I could, with a reasonably windy day, not a storm, but just regular winds, I would be 5 or 10 minutes on site.
So, what, a couple of months?
We just have to wait for the weather. So, I mean, if we get an early spring, I can go as soon as the conditions are correct.
Well, how about,
I think
we tend to get
May would be
windier weather as we move, as we change seasons?
I would expect there'd be no problem doing it in April.
So report back the first meeting in May?
Yes, that would be appropriate.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Kelly's moving the motion to defer this item until May. And then staff will have the opportunity to go out once the ground is thawed. And also there's usually windy weather in April. And so that'll provide the staff opportunity to inspect the site and also to, if there's reassurance, to also reassure the resident and possibly Councillor Kelly may be available that day, or at least will be able to have a conversation. So we're going to, Councillor Kelly's moving the motion. And all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. So it'll be deferred and then staff will come out and Councillor Kelly will be in touch.
Sorry, ignore my April 4th. Go with the highlighted date.
Yeah, so it'll be May 2nd. It will be reported, but the inspection will take place in April at some point. Okay, thank you.
Okay, will I be given an opportunity to speak on that day as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be the same exact format.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you.
And so moving on, let's see. Just yeah, 10. Great. Okay, so Councillor Crawford, we also held another item for you, which is SC 19.12, the engraved bench donation for McCowan District Park.
That with a quick explanation.
Oh,
to
sure.
my colleagues, and you can I just want to, quick picture. I just want to move that City Council accept the engraved bench donation from McCowan Park District. It's a little complicated. This bench exists. It was $5,000. It was donated many years ago, a couple years ago, to commemorate the lady who was killed right there, which we all know about. I just want to be able to, this is going to cost the city nothing. I just want to be able to accept the donation, and I'm going to look at how we get it installed. It's about $1,000 to install that. I'm going to figure, we're going to do it without any cost to the taxpayer. But I just want, the first process is to accept the donation. Second process will be getting it installed and the costs of all that, and I'll be taking care of that afterwards. That's why the motion's very simple. It just says to accept the engraved bench donation. I'll be figuring out the cost afterwards.
Okay. So you're moving the motion?
I have a motion.
Okay. And any questions of the mover?
Just City Council accept the engraved bench donation from McCowan District Park.
Great. And all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. Thank you. Sorry, okay. And so next item up is SC 19.9, which is the application to remove a private tree, 22 Fareham Crescent. And we have one deputation, and it's in Ward 43. Which is Councillor Ainsley. And Mr. Wren? Great, thank you so much. And so again, if you have not been here at City Councilor, or at Scarborough Community Council previously, you have 5 minutes to speak, and councillors may ask you questions.
Okay.
And the clock is at the side. Thank you. If you speak a little bit louder, right into that microphone.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Actually, my name is Jay Ren. I'm the homeowner of the 22 Fareham Crescent, Scarborough. And actually, I bought this house. Today, I'm come here to ask to ask the council to revisit my application to remove my tree. Actually, the tree, when I moved this house, is in April 2012. The house I moved in, there's a tree in my backyard. I'm very enjoy the tree because the tree can bring a lot of fun from our home. In the summer, we can have good shade. And in the fall, we have the very beautiful maple leaves. And even in every season, we have some squirrel and birds and drop visit our house. We are very lucky we have that tree. But we take the care of this tree every year. We hire April arborist to pruning the tree twice during my move in 4 years. Actually, the first time I spent 3,500. Then the next year I spent 500 to move some branches over there. And the reason I'm the last year and the arborist said, my arborist said, the tree have some disease, and also I have found some problem is the tree damaged caused my garage have some brick cracks, and the another concern is my neighbor. The tree is very close to the house and my neighbor, and there are some branch so often come falling down. My neighbor have a kid, and just about this year is 2 years old. It's called Golden Baker, and he play around in the backyard. Lot of branch come down. I can show you. There's the fence get a curve, make a curve, and the gutter get damaged. So I'm scared for this tree. It further decay and may damage the my garage and the property, and also hurt the neighbor. So that's the reason I hope the city council can reconsider my application. Thank you. Can you show the I have some picture over there. The first is this is the tree is you see very close to my neighbor. Actually, this is the tree, and the other picture. That there is a disease. I submit some. Yeah. Yeah. This is the arborist recommended this tree got disease, and they have report in my application. And also this is another one. Thank you. And this is the garage. Is because this tree the roots, the maple tree is the roots very shallow, so they often damage in the public. They often damage the driveway and walkway. But my application in this case is damaging my garage, and this is the wall near the garage. The corner. This is my house, actually. You see, this is my neighbor's gutter. And you see, is the tree, the branch fall down, and make a big dent. And this all make the fence get curved. See how big the trunk come in? You see, this is even in the springtime, you see that I think this is too brittle. The branch coming down. You see, this is the disease. So can you measure this tree to the neighbor garage and my garage is very close also. So that's the reason. The three reasons I'm concerned, and the tree should be revisited and reconsidered. Thank you.
Thank you. And questions of the deputant? Yep, Councillor Ainsley.
Good morning, Ms. Wren. So, you've shown us the pictures of the damage. So there's damage to your back patio, the garage floor, and on the report before us, it says there's been damage to your basement as well.
No, no, basement is okay, because I bought it, I got inspection, the basement not damaged, for only the garage have some, because he's a little bit lift, the roof lift, make some crack, small, I think a half-inch crack, biggest.
And how long have you owned this house?
4 years.
4 years. And when you bought it 4 years ago and moved in, did the previous owner express any concerns to you about this tree in the backyard at the time?
Actually, previous owner is, have two previous owner, and the first owner is very old. He live in there, start from the maybe 40 years or some 50 years there. But that old man didn't take care too much about the tree. And the second lady is I think is temporary, only live there 2 years. And she may have not capable to maintain this tree either. So when I move in, my neighbor who said this tree is a long time, didn't get maintained properly. That's so I hire an arborist to trim some dead branch. Even in the 2017, there have ice rain. There have a lot of branch and fall down. I think next year I fix my roofing also.
Okay, and I'm sure that when you talk with our arborist or forestry staff, they explain to you, so this tree is 62 centimeters in diameter.
It's very
It's almost
big tree.
twice as big as the 30 centimeter diameter threshold that we have. So it's quite a substantial tree in your neighborhood, not only for yourself, but for your neighbors. And one neighbor has said that they're okay with it being removed. Have you talked to the other neighbors around you?
I talked to my close neighbor and also I talked to my opposite neighbor. They said they okay to remove the tree, and they don't mind my decision. They actually support me.
Okay, and also within this report, I don't know if you've seen this report, it says that if we as a community council agree to remove this tree, that our forestry staff is recommending that 5 trees be planted on your property, or that a cash in lieu payment be made to the city. Are you okay with those conditions?
The condition, I think, fell tree, because my backyard is very small, not that much. I think, you know, my house, I think is not, for fell tree definitely is not that have no, I think maybe 3 is enough. Or fell tree, maybe, I don't know how to plant that tree, what kind of tree I can do.
Okay, and then this also says that you hired your own arborist that says there's issues with the tree and they're worried about decay.
Yes.
So this is a Norway maple. Did the arborist that did the report for you give any indication of how much longer they think this tree might live?
The arborist is, actually the recommended is the tree maybe can stay 2 or 3 years, I don't know, because that depends on maintenance. My concern is not, I don't have knowledge about that, how long, but my concern is about the safety, about the neighbor. I have some, if I don't know, I don't have big insurance for that to cover some property of my neighbor or property about the safety for the children play around there.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsley. And any other questions of the deputant? Nope, seeing none. Great, thank you so much. And Mr. Rannan, we're going to go over to staff. And questions of staff. Councillor DeBarmaker.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. There is a concern about disease, and there's a photograph shown. Could you maybe respond to that and let us know if you're still standing by the recommendation in the staff report, or if there's any new information here that might change your mind based on the deputant?
Madam Chair, no, this is information that's been reviewed. Decay in pruning cuts is normal part of a tree. These pruning cuts haven't been the best made, but they're not too bad. In that it could have been done better. So I don't know this arborist who did the report. I don't know their qualifications. They write a very brief, as I had up on the screen, report that just sort of said dangerous tree and repeated that multiple times without giving a lot of facts. So it's, our staff assessed the tree. It appears to be a normal maple of that size. Certainly they will drop branches during significant unusual storms, such as the ice storm. There's not a lot of we can do about that. There will be tree failures during unusual storms. During normal storms, we should have less failures, though large trees will drop branches because they're large trees.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. And Councillor Karygiannis?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to staff. I noticed that the individual that signed this is an ISA certified arborist, and he's got his number on there.
Yes.
Is there any doubt that this man is a certified arborist according to an organization that's giving him a number?
I have no doubt he's managed to pass the certified arborist test, correct.
So I was wondering if you can qualify why you shed some doubt on who he was, or what you thought that, I mean, since the man has passed the bar exam or whatever you call it, I'm just wondering why we had shed some doubts on his qualifications before.
Madam Chair, I wish it was a bar exam. It is a very base level test. It's not difficult to pass if you do a little bit of studying. It is an entry level, base level certification. It doesn't attest to great amounts of skill. It gives everybody a base level of basic competence.
Are you suggesting that we might need to take a look at this and have this bar set higher through the chair?
Urban forestry has been trying for many years, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Ainsley?
So I just want to ask about, so Norway maple. Over the years as a city councillor, I've heard different variations of a Norway maple, that they're either a pristine tree. I've heard some arborists can refer to them as a garbage tree. Is there any standard view on a Norway maple? Or I've been told, like I had one in my backyard at one point, I had an arborist say to me, don't water it very much because they grow like weeds.
Madam Chair, I mean, that can be an advantage. Certainly when you're dealing with street trees, you want something that's pretty robust and hardy. Norway maples are one of the hardiest and more robust trees we have growing in the city. That does cause issues when you're dealing with naturalized areas. So when you get into ravine areas and other naturalized areas, the excessive hardiness of the Norway maple and aggressiveness can cause it to outcompete the trees on the slopes. And Norways have a very dense shade, so they don't allow for a lot of undergrowth. Usually the complaint I hear about Norway maples is they can't get grass to grow or a flower garden to grow under it. They are individuals, so I mean, some are hardier than others, some are more robust than others. They're a very good quality tree to have growing in the city, taking into account restrictions around ravine areas and naturalized areas. We haven't been encouraging them because we have lots. So from a diversity standpoint, the city has been planting them, not because they're not a good quality tree, but because we had far more of them than we should under a proper diversity spectrum of species. So maples are still the dominant tree we have in the city. The last stats I saw, they make up over a quarter of all the trees in the city. And you shouldn't have the specs coming out of the National Forest Service in the States should be 10% of any genus. So maples should be maybe about 10% of the trees. So we're still got an excessive amount of them. So we have lots of Norways. And Norways make up the bulk of that maple component. Sugars and silvers make up the rest.
You say we have too many Norway maples?
We do have a lot of them, but we let them, like attrition, when you're dealing with any overly abundant group, you let them.
You would miss one.
You let them attrition out.
And sorry, on a more serious note, so 62 centimeters in diameter, you said the Norway maple is a fairly sturdy, robust tree, I believe is how you describe them. So 62 centimeters in diameter, do you have any idea of roughly how old that would be?
It's probably 45 to 50 years old.
Okay. And in a urban setting such as Toronto, what would you say the life expectancy of a Norway maple would be if it managed to live that long?
Madam Chair, it would be
Can you ballpark it? Or?
80 to 100 and some odd years would be typical. If it's a front yard tree downtown, it might be closer to the bottom of that. A backyard tree in a less dense area like this part of Scarborough, you could probably get into the 120 pretty easily.
Okay, all right.
Depending on its condition. I mean, this one has some structural concerns long term, in that it's got poor pruning wounds and some decay. So I would think that it probably wouldn't last the 120. It might be more closer to 80. So I mean, we could get another 30 years out of it.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Great. And any other councillors, staff? Nope. Okay, thank you so much. And then to speak. So Councillor Ainsley.
Sorry. Sorry, I do have a motion that I'm going to move. It's just a... So it's almost on the screen. So I'm moving the following motion that's on the screen. The City Council approve the request to remove the privately owned tree at 22 Fairham Crescent and request the homeowner to provide 3 replacement trees can be achieved in a combination of planting on site and cash in lieu planting. In the report, there's a reference to removing this tree. If it's done, that city arborists would like to see 5 trees planted on the property. As the homeowner said, he's a smaller backyard and doesn't think it can accommodate 5 trees in the backyard. So I'm moving this forward. Both the homeowner, as he said, he recently moved in 4 years ago, is worried about the tree decaying, the impact on the neighbors, their property and their fences, and his own property. And I would ask for support of this motion. Thank you.
Any questions of the mover? No, seeing none. And all those in favor? Okay, and Councillor Bearmaker is going to move a motion.
I think procedurally it's correct to move a motion to accept or to move the staff report, because I think if Councillor Ainsley's motion lost, I don't know if it's automatically the staff report, but I'll move the staff report just to be safe. And if you looked at the tree in the photographs that were given to us, it's actually a very beautiful, very healthy tree. It's going to last another 30 years, and I hope all of us last another 30 years, so that in 30 years from now we can go out and see how beautiful this tree is and know that the neighborhood's enjoyed it for another 3 decades. But our staff have reviewed the facts and have come out with the conclusion that the tree is safe. I understand that people have fear that during a windstorm the tree may drop a branch or might fall over, but I think we as a community may be suffering some psychological damage from the 2013 ice storm. It was the worst storm in 100 years. So there was a lot of damage from that worst storm in 100 years. So people now look at a tree and they're afraid of it. We heard earlier today, well, the tree sways in the wind, and so I'm afraid it's going to fall on my house. We heard a professional forester say, trees are supposed to sway in the wind. That's how they remain standing. We've heard people say on many occasions here, well, the tree leans a little bit of an angle towards my house or my neighbor's house, and therefore we need to take it down. And our forestry staff say, trees lean. That's natural. That's what they do. We have people concerned about disease, and our forestry staff say, well, some trees have disease. I don't know if any of us have any diseases, but usually as we get a little older or middle-aged, we get the little odd blemish or this or that. So just like a tree, we're not pristine like a little sapling. We're middle-aged. When the trees are 50 years old, they're middle-aged. If those diseases or imperfections or blemishes caused concern that our professional arborists said, you know what, this tree should come down, as they say, they approve the vast majority of tree cutting applications. This one, they've said no. So I'm just going to move the staff recommendation and let this very healthy, beautiful tree stay there for another few decades. Thank you.
Great. And any other councillors to speak? Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, Chair. I was part of the group that created the Office of Tree Advocate back in the day. The reason that the office was created was to give the city the opportunity to monitor the tree coverage. going forward, because we all, I think, appreciate not only the natural beauty that trees bring to an urban region, but you know, the health aspects to trees as well. But frankly, over time, it's become obvious that for a lot of people, trees are a nuisance. You know, you've got to pay attention to them. You've got to spend some money on trying to keep your yard free of leaves, of debris. I have 13 trees on my property, and every time the wind goes through, I'm out there the next day picking up small branches, sometimes branches of an intermediate size. But on balance, I appreciate what they do, not only for my property, but for the neighborhood as well. And we have a policy as a city to grow the foliage and have stated quite clearly that any exception to that principle has to be well established. There's got to be solid evidence for anyone or any business to cut down a tree. And I haven't seen anything here today that would sway me from the support of that policy. That tree is making a solid contribution to the quality of life of that neighborhood. And I would point out as well, having a real estate background, that trees bring value, real estate value. And neighborhoods with trees have higher house prices than neighborhoods that don't have many trees or none at all. They did an experiment in the city of Chicago a few years back. They took a rundown neighborhood and they planted it solidly. Housing prices went up 30% within the decade. So I understand the concerns of the applicant. I would hope that he would appreciate the value that that tree brings to the value of his property and to the enjoyment of the neighborhood, and that he commit himself to looking after it and enhancing it. So I'll be supporting the recommendations of staff to deny the applicant's request.
Great. And Councillor Karygiannis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've looked at some pictures of the tree, and there's no doubt in my mind that that tree is either sick or about to get sick. I've heard staff time and time again come and tell us that don't worry about it, everything's going to be fine. My daughter moved into a house about 1.5 years ago. The previous owner said applied to cut the tree down, and I'm not sure if they had gone to community council or not. And I'm not sure what happened. However, after she moved in, immediately within a couple of months, half the tree fell down. And at that point in time, if I'm convinced that if the owner of the house has concerns that this tree might come down to hurt his family, or there's evidence of the tree coming down, I would say that we have to err ourselves on the side of the homeowner in order to support him. Now, I did notice some pictures that those branches had come down. Should any of the children of the two neighbors been there, that would have hit them and have caused them a lot of accident. And we as the city would probably be responsible. And I understand the staff says I will stand behind my signature, but it's not until you actually go to court and the staff stand there and say, oh yeah, I signed this and everything is fine, and the person that you love, the person that you are, your wife, your children, are affected by it. So although I have a lot of respect for the staff and their signatures, I tell you there's times that staff sign off. Staff are there to respond, but they're not always correct. So I'm going to support Councillor Ainsley's motion for you, sir, to cut down your tree and plant 3 more in your property. I think that we need to support our constituents when they're concerned and they're coming forward with us with concerns that they raise, and we look the other way. Such an issue is something with my family. I've raised the concerns. The city looked the other way, and unfortunately ended up hurting a member of my family, a very dear member of my family. So I'm going to be supporting this motion.
Any other councillors to speak? Nope, seeing none. I'll just concur with what Councillor DeBearmaker and Councillor Kelly were saying, and as former chair of Parks and Environment, I think that we have a duty and care for a tree canopy in Toronto, and Scarborough actually has the lowest tree canopy in all of Toronto. So we have to fight to make sure that we're protecting our tree canopy, and just too often, it's not really about the evidence, it's just about more based on fear. And so that's why we do rely on our forestry staff to come forward with solid evidence to make sure that we know that the health and stability of the trees there, which we can see. So in that case, I'm going to be supporting Councillor DeBearmaker's motion and staff in this regard. And I also agree that it really does play into the real estate. That was a major aspect that even when Councillor Kelly was chair and I was on your Parks and Environment Committee, that's what we talked about, was the value that it adds. And we know areas of the city, if we especially go down to Councillor Crawford's neighborhood where we have glorious trees down there, and other parts of Scarborough, those home prices are much higher than I will say even in my own ward, which is largely industrial, or you'll have pockets of neighborhoods where the trees have basically just been taken down over the years. And that tree canopy it just adds so much value and character to a neighborhood, and also just to the health of a neighborhood, to the health of the city, to our environment. And those are the things that we have to look after, and it's our duty of care as councillors and protectors of the environment. So I'm going to be making sure that we do that, and I know that many here want to do that as well. And also, it's about pruning. I mean, if you're afraid that pieces of the tree limbs are going to blow away or come down during an ice storm, or in this case, we have to make sure that we're taking care of the tree. That's part of our home responsibility. And if you don't want that, then you really shouldn't own the home, or you shouldn't buy a home with a tree on it. So I think people have to take some self-responsibility and make sure that if they buy a house, like we just saw earlier, and you have a big 60-foot tree in front of it, that's what you bought. And the house, and that's your duty to make sure that you parge it if you have cracks in the foundation, or our houses age, and you're going to get cracks, and you're going to have to parge it. That's just what we do, what we have to do as homeowners. So I think we have to start having some self-responsibility, and in that regard, I'm going to just go over to Councillor DeBearmaker's motion, which comes first. I think that's the one that comes first. I'm quite sure. It would? Okay. Okay, so Councillor Ainsley's does come first, and because it's a motion to amend. Okay. Sorry, I'm just seeing the wrong. Okay. So Councillor Ainsley's motion, so that Scarborough Community Council recommend that City Council approve the request to permit to remove a privately owned tree at 22 Fareham Crescent, and require the homeowner to provide 3 replacement trees, which can be achieved in a combination of planting on site and cash in lieu of planting. All those in favor? And Councillor Ainsley, yeah. A recorded vote. So Councillor Karygiannis and Councillor Ainsley, and those opposed? And it's Councillor Kelly, Councillor Lee, Councillor Holland, Councillor Crawford, and Councillor DeBearmaker. And so that does not pass. And so I believe we still have to vote for Councillor DeBearmaker's, and the Scarborough Community Council recommend that City Council deny the request for a permit to remove a privately owned tree located at 22 Fareham Crescent. All those in favor? And opposed? And so that one passes. And so that it's denied, sir. So that application is denied.
Thank you, Council.
Sorry, we're finished, so sorry about that. And so we just have one left, which was Councillor Ainsley's as well, and we have one speaker on that one as well, which is SC 19.18, and that is the speed limit review Warnsworth Street. And it's Miroslav Glavic, but it doesn't look like he's here. And so, Councillor Ainsley.
Yep, I'm just going to speak from the monitor.
Okay.
So this is, sorry. This is Warrensworth Street, which is in my ward. So I am going to be moving a motion. If I don't need to have it put on the screen. I'm basically asking for the speed limit on this street to be reduced to 30 kilometers. It's currently 50, an unsigned 50-kilometer street. It has 14 homes located on the south side of the street, the south side of the street here. On the south side of the street, there's 4 houses located here. The ones here are actually front onto the adjacent side streets. Just one of the characteristics you'll see on this street on the north side, there's a sidewalk on this side, no sidewalk on the south side, or any of these streets here, Fillets. So earlier this week, last week, I did send a flyer out to all the homes notifying them of the issue that we're looking at reducing the speed limit at one point to 40 kilometers. I heard back from a number of residents. They were quite surprised that this is even allowed right now at 50 kilometers. If you drive down this street, Morningside Avenue is here. If you drive down this street, entering onto Warrensworth at either end, Morningside Avenue here, or Weir Crescent at this end, and try to do 50 kilometers on this street, it's impossible. It's quite difficult to do it at 40 kilometers. A number of residents I talked to, their feedback on the flyer that I sent out asked for an actual posted speed of 30 kilometers. The parking lot that you see here at the top of the photo is for West Hill Collegiate. A lot of the students that live in the area, I won't say children, but teenagers that attend West Hill Collegiate actually walk on the south side of Warrensworth. If you can't see that in the photo here, but there's actually a dirt path across a lot of the front lawns on the south side of the street where they're most comfortable walking. So before we actually have an incident here, and there is a lot of shortcutting across the street from Morningside Avenue in the morning, and then going back in the evening, shortcutting across the other way from Weir Crescent to get from Lawrence Avenue, which is the south side, over to Morningside. So I'm moving a motion that the posted speed limit be reduced to 30 kilometers. Thank you.
Okay, so questions of the mover? Yep, Councillor Karygiannis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to our colleague, this is only for that particular stretch, 30 kilometers. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Now, is there a pathway from the school to that street?
Yep. If you can see this line across the grass here, just north of Warrensworth, there is a gate there that a lot of the kids coming from north of Warrensworth take that access path into the schoolyard.
Sorry, let me clarify this. The street that we see going east and west.
Yep, so
that's
this
the
is
only,
Warrensworth here.
That's the only street that you want to move to 30 kilometers?
Yes.
Not the surrounding streets, the one that going behind the school up and down, just that street?
So at this point, this is the only street I'm asking for today to be reduced to 30 kilometers. I actually have active petitions currently ongoing in the streets that are to the west, that also the residents are also looking at reducing the speed to 30 kilometers. One of the issues that I have, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people from Morningside Avenue that are east and north of here use this as a cut through in the morning and the evening. I regularly have to ask for police enforcement from traffic services for people to obey the speed limit. I was actually the last officer that was at Warrensworth was actually quite surprised that it was an unposted speed limit of 50 kilometers here.
So I've done a similar exercise in my area, and a lot of people just actually were not supportive of it. But most of the majority of the homeowners on the street, I would suspect that are supporting your request.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions of the mover? No, seeing none. Okay. So questions of staff. And so thank you, Councillor Ainsley. So we'll just go to staff, and we have questions of staff. Councillor Kelly.
One of the among the earliest pieces of advice I received from traffic many years ago was that you can post any speed limit you want up on a pole. People will drive at a rate at which they feel comfortable. So my question, I guess, is what's been the experience, if any, of either the City of Toronto in reducing speeds so markedly or in other jurisdictions? And in other words, what's the compliance rate, and is there any way of establishing that?
Through you, Madam Chair. Certainly, compliance rates are very site-specific, and I don't have any information on general compliance rates except that a qualitative sense that artificially low speed limits in general situations may not be effective unless there's constant enforcement, because the natural speed of the road is conducive for a higher speed. In this particular situation on Warrensworth Street, we had arranged for a speed volume study, and it indicated that the typical operating speed was in the 52 to 53 kilometer per hour range. So that would certainly be consistent with the current 50 kilometer per hour posted speed. We had indicated a negative recommendation on the 40 kilometer per hour posted speed, because typically if the operating speed is less than 50, like in the 49 or 48 or less, then that might be consistent with a 40 zone. But this one was slightly faster than a 40 zone, so we had to indicate a negative response. But in terms of a proposal for a 30 kilometer per hour speed limit, the actual prevailing speed right now with the unposted 50 is very much higher than would be indicative for recommending a 30 kilometer per hour speed. So we have concerns that if there is no enforcement, people will just keep driving how they wish. Some people may then also may follow the speed limit that's ultimately posted if it's changed, and then that will cause a speed differential on this street. You may end up having a risk of additional collisions, like such as rear-end collisions or T-bones at the intersections, where people assume that other drivers are driving 30 or something consistent with 30, but they're actually driving faster, and then you end up having collisions because of that speed differential.
Thank you.
Great. And Councillor Ainsley and then Councillor DeBaremaker.
Yep. So, sorry, for questions of staff, so one of the, I don't know if this is more of a rhetorical question, I've had discussions with traffic services about speeding. I recently had a community meeting where they were advocating for a reduction of speed limits in 30 kilometers, that if you have a posted, there are perceptions that you have a posted 40 kilometer speed limit, that people generally don't get a ticket for going more than 10 kilometers or faster on any given street. So if you have a 40 kilometer posted speed limit, they're going to go 50. If you have a 30 kilometer speed limit, more than likely people will push the envelope and go in 40. Are you aware of any of that attitude or driving attitude?
Through you, Madam Chair, certainly in the professional engineering world, when we have a posted speed limit, we say that the comfortable speed for that limit would be higher than that speed. So as an example, hypothetically, if there was a 40 zone posted, we would expect an 85th percentile operating speed of up to 49 kilometers per hour to be suitable and consistent with that. And it also drives into that we are aware that in terms of enforcement, there may not be a zero tolerance enforcement criteria, that enforcement may involve people driving faster than that comfortable, tolerable range of 9 kilometers per hour over the posted speed limit. So if it's posted at 30 and the unposted operating speed is in the low 50s, I might expect that with the posting of such a low zone, that the operating speed will be somewhere in the low to mid 40s. Because some drivers will drive 30, some may drive a little bit more than 30 in that comfortable range. Others may say, this is too low, I'm just going to drive how I feel I can drive because there's no enforcement apparent. And you'll have a larger differential in terms of the range and the speeds.
Okay, and so in your earlier comments to Councillor Kelly, you said that when the study was done, that the average speed that people are driving was 52 to 53 kilometers?
Through you, Madam Chair. No, the operating speed, the 85th percentile speed was 52 to 53.
Okay, and that's on a street that, so there's 14 houses on one side of the street, and currently there's no posted speed limit signs on the street, and people are driving in that range that you just said.
Yes, so with an unposted situation, the people are driving slightly faster than the posted speed limit.
But it's not posted.
Sorry,
There's no signs on the street. There's no posted speed limit signs on the street, and people are doing 52 to 53 kilometers.
Yes, my apologies, I misspoke. It's an unposted 50-kilometer-per-hour zone.
Okay, and so this street, it's only 14 houses in length, 50 kilometers. Is that the standard speed limit that's posted for any street, regardless of length? Because on Weir Crescent, just adjacent, the posted speed limit, as you go further into a residential area, and all single-family residential, it's posted at 40 kilometers.
Through you, Madam Chair, the default speed limit in Ontario is 50 kilometers per hour. So in the case of Warnsworth Street, it is an unposted 50 kilometers per hour by virtue of the history that, as far as I can recall, there have been no requests for studies or speed limit changes in the past until this present study. Other streets may have lower speed limits because of historical requests for studies, and as speed limit deviations from the default 50 kilometers per hour are dealt with on a site-specific basis.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and Councillor DeBearmaker. Okay, great. And anybody else has questions of staff? No, okay. And so we'll go with Councillor DeBearmaker first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be supporting Councillor Ainsley's motion. I think with the invention of smartphones.
So maybe, sorry, if I can reorder that, maybe Councillor Ainsley should speak first and then move the motion. Which is
He did, I thought.
I did move a motion, I spoke.
When you, okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Great. And so, Councillor DeBearmaker, we just sort of reordered it.
Sure, no problem. I'll support the motion that Councillor Ainsley moved. I think these smartphones that we have are miraculous devices and have changed everything, including how people drive. So I think we all have in our wards the cut-through streets that sometimes in the past locals knew about. So we would take the shortcut, but anyone who didn't live in that little subdivision wouldn't be able to take it. But now virtually everyone has one of these who drives a car. They all have their maps, they all have GPS. So when people used to drive perhaps along Morningside, they wouldn't cut through the side streets to get to the other side because they didn't know what was there. They'd even peek down the street and they'd see the three-way stop and say, forget it, I don't want to get stuck, I'm late for work. But now, thanks to the miracle of our cell phones, when you're driving down Morningside or stopped at any stoplight, all you have to do is look at your windshield and you can see that it's very easy to cut through that subdivision. So I can imagine, as Councillor Ainsley is saying, people are going through there, and I think our staff said the average is about 52 kilometers an hour, because they're not going there to visit a relative. They're not going there to even drop off their kids at school. What they're doing is flying through that street to get to the other side. It's a shortcut, and they don't want to be on that street. They just want to speed past it. So I think it's fair for that community to say, you know what, on this street, to discourage people from driving too fast and endangering local kids going to school, we want this a little slower. So I think it's a reasonable request. I think we're probably going to see more of them over time. And I hope that we'll support them where they're merited, and I think this is certainly one of those cases. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And Councillor Karygiannis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll be supporting Councillor Ainsley's request. I think the community, through the councillor, have spoken, and it behooves us that we support that. I mean, it's a small street. I can't see anybody, in that length of a couple of hundred yards that they would speed up to 50, 53. So I think that we need to make sure that people know that you're going down the street, there's children around there, they need to be protected, so I'll be supporting the motion. And I would say to the councillor that he might even want to come back and put a couple of speed bumps. When you look downtown, there's speed bumps on every street that you can cut through, and they got the speed limit down to 30. I think we're a little bit behind times in Scarborough, that we need to look what our colleagues are doing downtown and request the same. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And Anyone else to speak? Councillor Kelly?
Well, Chair, I was prepared to support a reduction in the speed, or first of all, to post the speed and to reduce it from 50 to 40, but going down to 30, I suspect, if I understood the councillor's remarks, is his initiative that now, it may be that he made a commitment to the people in the neighborhood to take it down to 30, but I have a sense that the commitment was to reduce first was to post the speed and then take it down to I don't know, to 40, which I think is reasonable. But to take it down to 30, frankly, I think it's not reasonable. It's smoke and mirrors. You're not really doing what you're purporting to do, and that is to make that street really safer than it is now. People drive at a speed at which they feel comfortable, and I suspect that the speed limit will go down, but taking it down to 30, I don't think is going to be observed, because people driving that street will perceive it as an unreasonable restriction on their time, and so the end result probably will be an enhanced irritation in the neighborhood, because the posted speed on that street won't deliver the results that people are expecting. You put 30 up there, the anticipation of the homeowners, the residents of the street will be that people will be driving 30. Well, they won't be. And I suspect they're going to get a lot of calls as a result. A traffic officer a number of years ago, with 25 years experience, said that the only thing that enforces the speed limit is an officer at the side of the road, and you just simply don't have the ability to do that on that short street. So I think everyone wants safer streets. Everyone wants responsible driving. But I don't think that taking it from 40 to 30 is going to deliver that difference, frankly. And one of the attributes of serving in public office for a number of years is that you've seen how these things play out. And I suspect that the first people that will be caught with any enforcement on that street probably will be the locals themselves. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Chair, on a point of personal privilege, I was just listening to my esteemed colleague's comments from Ward 40, and he seemed to infer that I was a magician, I believe, smoke and mirrors. Thank you.
Very tricky. Okay, so anyway, on the motion, so it's Councillor Ainsley's motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Opposed? Sorry. Yeah. So it's on Councillor Ainsley's motion, and that's to make it 30 kilometers on this street in particular. Yep. So all those in favor and opposed, and that carries. So that wraps it up until lunch. And just as I